Hey everybody, this is Bob Cargill, and this is Bob Cargill's Marketing Show. And this is a very special episode. Not that every episode of my podcast isn't special, but this one is especially special because we're here at Suffolk University in the classroom with my wicked smart, ridiculously awesome students. And we're here on the campus in Boston and taking the class time to record a podcast as a lesson in podcasting, as a lesson in content marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And before we hit record, we were looking on Google in how a podcast can attract attention and get subscribers and listeners and viewers when you also record it on video. It's great for SEO, it's great for reach, it's great for thought leadership, personal branding, and if you're a business or brand, what better way to let your audience in behind the scenes, if you will, and give them a view of who is behind the scenes at the brand or business. You can introduce them to executives, you can introduce them to interns, you can introduce them to anybody and everybody who works at your company. So podcasts are powerful. And we talked about Joe Rogan on Spotify, and I think he signed like $100 million contract, which is crazy for his podcast. So there's money in podcasting. That said, I'm going to introduce 3 students here at Suffolk University, 2 of whom are in my class, and a very special guest we'll get to in just a moment. And we're going to talk about marketing, we're going to talk about social media, we're going to talk about the Finance and Investing Club here at Suffolk University, and who knows what else. We might, we can go anywhere, no rules, no guidelines necessarily. But what I want to say is I'm pleased and honored to have Syria Ricciu here with us. And Syria is a senior at Suffolk University, and she's a biology major, and she's wicked smart, and she's honorizing, is that correct?
That's correct.
This class, and this class, by the way, is Principles of Marketing, and Syria is in my class, and she is going to be one of the 3 students who are going to speak along with myself during this podcast. Next over here, we have Michael Klier. Michael is also in my class. He's a junior, wicked smart, and he's VP of Finance and Investing, the Finance and Investing Club. Michael, thanks for being here. Really excited that you and Syria from the class have volunteered to participate. He's a management major and a finance minor.
Thank you.
Great to see you, Michael.
Good to see you too.
I want to say, before we get to our last special guest, there are about 20, let's say 15 to 20 students be in front of me, on video. If you're watching on video, Hillary has volunteered. Thank you, Hillary, for doing what you do to record this on video as well. I'll put it up on YouTube and who knows where else on social. But thanks, students, for being here. And now I'm going to introduce our very special guest. She is Zena Fitzgerald. She's a junior at Suffolk University, a finance major, and her minor is real estate. And Zena is here especially because she is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Finance and Investing Club at Suffolk. Zena, thanks for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Really delighted you're here. I'm going to hand the microphone over to you. I'm also demonstrating, by the way, how easy it is to record a podcast. I was saying earlier, I have so many over the years, clients and audience members who tell me they don't have time for social media or don't know how to do social media or don't have a budget for social media. And I say, well, what do you have in your hand right now? And just about all of us are carrying around our cell phones, or at least they're within inches away from the palms of our hands. And I say, that's all you need. This is pod being hosted. This goes out everywhere, pretty much where you can listen to a podcast. So we're recording it off of the phone. I'm going to hand my phone to Zena, and Zena's going to tell us a little bit about herself as CMO of the Finance and Investing Club here at Suffolk. Zena.
Thank you guys for that wonderful introduction. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my CMO position. So I was elected at the beginning of 2024, 2025, so that is kind of where it's gone, and then I actually got re-elected for a 2025-2026 position as CMO. So my goals as the CMO is just bring in as many people as possible. I try to bring in as many girls, as many guys. I just want to expand the social media and make sure that kids come to the club. As many of you know, or maybe not, We are a fund of $400,000, and we invest into stocks, and we make portfolio pitches and so on. So it's very important that we have students involved in the club because it's very, very withstanding, and it's a very good look for your resume and so on. So as CMO, I post on LinkedIn and Instagram pretty much, I would say 4 or 5 times a week. You want to get as much engagement as possible within your Instagram and LinkedIn so that you get people to come to the club. Alongside with that, I'm working with some professors, and I'm working with the dean as well with the website. So I'm doing 2 different websites. I'm doing a Wix so we can have more freedom within the marketing so that we can post like these podcasts, or we can post our pitch decks and so on. And then along with that, I'm doing the .edu, which I have to follow more regulations along with that. And mainly my goal is to get as much outreach as possible and bring as many kids as I can into the group.
Zena, that's awesome. I asked you when we weren't recording about social media. Can you tell us that's right. Thank you, I forgot. I forgot, I had to have the mic in front of me. Tell us about, but my voice projects. Tell us about your social media and how you do that, what channels you're on, and how effective it might be for the Finance and Investing Club. Thank you, Syria.
Yeah. So we are currently on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'm currently working to get us onto TikTok because I know it's a very well-known site, especially for kids our age. So my main goal is to make it so it's easier for kids who are in college to come to the group. So when I first started off in just the finance club, because I wasn't the CMO at first, I was just an analyst, which is another position that you can hold within the club. I never knew what time the club was, or I didn't know where it was. So the first thing that when I became this position is to make sure that kids knew where it was happening, what time it was happening, and so on. So throughout that, you can see it in the club's pages and posts and everything, that my main goal is just get it to an outreach of kids who are our age range and something that they actually want. Because a lot of the clubs that you see is a lot of Canva posts, which obviously Canva is a great tool, and I still use Canva, don't get me wrong. But I wanted to bring something that's a little bit different than other clubs, so I actually bring my camera. I have a professional camera that I bring. I take pictures. It's just, I try to get the kids and everyone else involved in Instagram, because it's not, you want to send home a picture to your parents and be like, look at me today, like on the LinkedIn post or the Instagram post. So that's kind of my goal, is to not just expand to the students, but expand to their families, and it keeps everyone very happy. So we're very vocal on LinkedIn and Instagram. I would say we get 4 to 5 posts a week, because we have to do pitch decks, and whenever we have like a pitch deck, then I'll like post pictures of people presenting and so on. So
Do you do Instagram stories, and maybe we could do one before we leave today from here and say that, hey, we just recorded a podcast? I find that Instagram stories play really well in terms of getting people's attention. They're top left of the feed, you see it, you can follow it, quick view, and it's a good way to stay conspicuous in your presence on social media.
Yeah, so actually I found a lot with even my own personal Instagram and so on, just bringing in views and how much it affects whatever you want to market towards, I guess. So every single post I make, it goes on the story, because a lot of times when you're on Instagram, you go straight to your story. You don't actually scroll down your feed or anything like that. So I try to make it so kids who go on Instagram can get easy access to it and see what time things are, or when it is and where it is. So that's for Instagram. LinkedIn, there's no story per se. So a lot of kids, like I know some students don't have Instagram or don't have any other social media platform. So LinkedIn's a very professional site that you can use. So that one's for kids mainly who don't really have it, but also in the finance industry and business, and even honestly any student at Suffolk who does have LinkedIn, you will see it. So I would say using a story is very, very, very good, and I have even seen that within it.
Zena, we're very fortunate to have you here today. You're very well spoken, and the Finance and Investing Club is lucky to have you as their CMO. And as are they lucky to have Michael Klier as their VP. Let's pass the mic to Michael. And Michael, I'm just curious what your role is with the Finance and Investing Club. I know it's VP, but what do you do with the club? Tell us a little bit more.
Thank you, Professor Cargill, and thank you again for having me. Thank you, Syria, for putting this together. And thank you, Zena, for coming today and speaking to everyone in the class. My role as VP, it's more of a utility player. I kind of advise or kind of serve the chairman, president, CIO, even Zena. I go where as needed. So next year, as the next chairman, I hope to keep that role as more of an engaging role. I know chairman is someone who's a senior, about to leave or graduate, so they usually kind of wander off after meetings and are focused on their professional career. So I'd like to stay on campus twice a week during the meetings, which we have for the Finance Club. My question for Zena is involving engagement for the Finance Club posts. I remember when you and I actually first joined last year, there was about, I would say, a couple hundred followers and not many likes on posts. And most of the posts were reiterated or very redundant with their format, text, titles, etc. I was wondering if you can share like how the engagement's increased by posting more than like 3 times a week, and also changing up the posts for pictures, titles, etc.
Yeah, I'd love to touch more on that. Kind of something when I got into the CMO role is I reiterate probably a million times, is I'm trying to engage the students that I'm like going towards. So when I first got in touch with it, when I first got in the Instagram and LinkedIn, I really wanted to focus on just bringing in as much engagement. So you can very much see a difference of when it used to be under some others, and then when it kind of changed to mine, because I just really wanted to put in the best effort that I possibly could. So once again, the Canva posts, I still do use Canva and the titles and everything, and I kind of like for every single guest speaker that we have, I have a certain template, but I try to make it kind of free, like I have freedom, and also I'm very, very open to any criticism. I love criticism. If anything that helps within anything. I was talking to the dean, we were in New York City, what was it, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, I don't know when, but we were there for Finance Club, and I was talking to the dean there, and she was helping me. She was just like, I would love more videos, and I was like, perfect. So I started doing more videos, and we actually, on one of the videos, got over 3K views, which for a Finance Club, and I mean any club at Suffolk, that's pretty good. It's pretty engaging. And kind of touch on the followers, we used to have, I'm pretty sure we started off when I was first started, I think it was around 500 followers, and now we're at we actually just hit 900 followers, which is pretty good, and we only follow around 60, I think it's 65 kids around there. So it's not that we don't follow anyone back, it's just we're a club. I mean, we don't really have to be following a ton of people, and not that following people really matters, and we just want the club to just really get out there. So with the posts, I just try to make them as simple and easy as possible, so you know where it is, when it is, and everything of sorts.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm so impressed with the Finance and Investing Club and everything that you're doing. And again, they're lucky to have Michael as VP and you, Zena, as the CMO. Very, very impressive what you guys are doing. I want to not be remiss in making sure, not too late in the conversation, we introduce Syria. I did introduce you, but I want Syria as a, I guess, non-member, if you will, of the Finance and Investing Club. But I want you to talk about what you've been doing during your educational journey here at Suffolk. I know you have an impressive background. I know you were going far, just like your colleagues, Zena and Michael. But you, in fact, I want to give credit for this podcast because you're honorizing this class, something I hadn't heard of until this semester. So I'm honored that you're honorizing this class, and we talked about projects that we can do different, and this is one of them. So this is thanks to you, Syria. So this is really an open question. Tell us about yourself and your background and future aspirations and anything, frankly, you want to talk about.
Of course. Well, first of all, thanks to all of you guys, because even though I guess it was like a very small idea, we only were able to make it happen because of your commitment to the class, and I'm glad that there's a bunch of students that still remained, even though they're not actively participating. But a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Italy. I lived there for 10 years. Then, thanks to my mom and my stepdad, we moved to California. I was there for a little bit, then Miami. And then while I was finishing up high school, I realized that I did not like Florida whatsoever. So I decided to come up here in Boston. And this is actually something that I wanted to talk about specifically in this podcast, because we're talking about marketing. And I think it's important to mention the marketing of Suffolk University. As I was searching for schools, I knew that Boston was the right city for me, but then obviously I had to choose what what out of the many universities that are here, there's probably around like 5 within like a, I don't even know, 15 mile radius.
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that. Which one was the right one for me? And the only reason truly that I found out about Suffolk in the first place was through Common App. I searched up, you can search up schools by their name, or you can search up schools by, you know, the region, whatever. So I searched up Boston, and Suffolk was like one of the last ones that came up, and I truly didn't know more about it until I went and did my research. And I feel like a lot of students who grew up around like the Massachusetts area know a lot about Suffolk, and it's one of the more known ones, especially because it's in downtown Boston, and it's one of the, I think, 1 or 3 schools that's in the heart of Boston. So I just wish there was a little bit more outreach on that, especially towards Suffolk University, because it's such an amazing college, and because the classroom size is so small. I mean, even here, I wish you could all see in this podcast how small this classroom is, but it's truly like a very positive aspect of Suffolk University. It's the fact that your professors care about you, such as Professor Cargill, and they truly want you to, you know, to use their experience and to learn from them. And you know, you've been working in the marketing industry for forever. Forever, exactly. So I have always, even though I'm a biology major, as you mentioned before, I realized very early on that medical school was probably not the right path for me. And now that I'm in my senior year at Suffolk, fun fact, was the only school that allowed me to graduate in 3 years instead of 4. They were really, really good with taking all of my classes, my college credit classes from high school. So it's only thanks to them that I've been able to save so much time and money, which is really important to me, and I'm sure to any student. But the thing about Suffolk is that, you know, I think they should have advertised how good they are about these things, and especially the small classroom size was one of the things that attracted me the most about Suffolk. And end of the story, during my senior year, I had a little bit of free spaces within my electives to take some fun courses, and marketing was the one that I had been thinking about forever. So I think we can talk about this a little bit further on, but about, you know, choosing your professors. There's a lot of different websites where you can search up different professors, and Professor Cargill had an amazing rating. I'm not sure if you know that about yourself, but I decided to take this course, and here I am, and I was just a few credits away from graduating with honors, so I asked him very kindly if he could help me make that happen. And one of the requirements was to do like a 15-page paper, and I could have done that, and I could have done a 15-page paper where he just, maybe I could have used ChatGPT to write that entire essay, and it would have, worked just fine. But I really just wanted to take a class where you can use experiential learning, and take it to my advantage, and then teach the rest of the class that they can do the same thing with any of their other classes if they're in the honors program. So yeah.
You said a lot, as did all three of you. It makes me want to add to some of what you said. I hope you don't mind.
No,
I agree with everything you said in terms of marketing of Suffolk University, but I'd say marketing of any college or university brand of business. I feel that organizations don't realize how easy it is to get the word out by using social media. I'm always, I know, over promoting, to some people maybe, over promoting social, but I think just look at what we're doing right now, and imagine if in the classroom every class was recorded or tweeted about, or on Instagram stories or TikTok. That would be cool. That would get the word out. That would reach the target audience. And I think we're doing this right now. This is going to go live. This could be seen by the world, heard by the world. So that's one way. Educate professors, educate administrators, educate anybody who works in the school to use social media, and free and encourage the students to use it right in the classroom. Michael had your hand up.
Thank you. I just have a question for Syria, since you discussed that you were from Italy and you went to Florida and you come to Boston, all your traveling and all the different schools you've been to, and now you're pursuing a career in healthcare on the administrative side. I was wondering if you can share 1 or 2 of your greatest learnings in coming across different people, different demographics, different cities, towns, and maybe sharing just like your general like idea of like how to build your personal brand everywhere you go?
My goodness, Michael, that's such a great question. Yeah, obviously I've met a ton of different people from my Italian side, like my family roots. It's almost like, you know, those immigrant families where you only get two choices. You can either be a doctor or you can be a lawyer. And thankfully I had a family that always supported me no matter what. But something that I learned actually very recently, just I believe 2 weeks ago, I went to a biomedical science conference over in the West End and over by Copley. And I met someone with actually a very, very similar background in terms of like studying, same one as me. So she had gotten her bachelor's in biology. Spoke to her, she also wanted to go to medical school. And then she ended up getting her MBA from Harvard. So I was like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to you immediately after I saw her name and like the keynote speakers. Just because I really wanted to understand what her thought process was and like what was happening in her life. But overall, she just told me that there were a lot of people in her life, just like mine, who were always pushing her from a very young age to pursue a medical degree. And you kind of gaslight yourself into thinking, okay, maybe this is for me. And she actually ended up applying to medical school and going through like 2 years until she really couldn't handle it anymore because she wasn't happy and she knew that like this is just not for me. And I had the same kind of thought process where I still want to be able to help people, but just not in that same way. So she just like told me, you have to follow what makes you happy. You can't just go with like old mindsets that you can only be one of two things. So I think learning from everyone, taking criticism, just like you said, there's something that you can learn from every single person, whether they are doing something to you, whether they have a relationship to you that has nothing to do with maybe what you want to pursue. There's always something that you can learn from people. So I guess that was like one specific example, but I always try to like keep my ears open and listen to people as much as I can.
I'm amazed at this discussion, the depth of it and the breadth of it, where we could go on forever. I want to watch the time. We still have a few more minutes. So I have a couple more questions for you, and I want to tie it back to marketing. I want to make sure you each get equal time to answer or comment or raise your own related story. In front of us is two drinks, and we don't have a sponsor. But we have vitamin water and we have liquid death. And I talk about branding in this class. We've learned a lot about branding and targeting and pricing, the 4 Ps, product, price, place, and promotion. Then if you go into the store, you got personnel, you got the presentation, the placement of the product, and you got the process, how it's made. So there's a lot of Ps going on. In this case, I will say, I'm going to talk about vitamin water. One of you could talk about liquid death or any other product or brand that stands out for you, so you could start thinking. I am a runner. I'm running my 20th Boston in 11 days, I think. If I'm accurate, the 21st of April. I drink a ton of these kind of drinks, hydration drinks. This is vitamin water, but what got my attention? You guys know how I am in a way. I'm very impulsive, and what do you think got my attention here?
The color?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping that was an easy question. The blue got my attention right away, and I grabbed it like a kid in a candy store. And it says raspberry limeade. I don't even really taste that much raspberry in limeade. I get it because it was blue. I don't know what the blue has to do with the raspberry and limeade, but I think it's to attract attention, which is the #1 rule in advertising. And I also like what it says on the bottle, plastic bottle, when your social battery needs a charge and you have to play extrovert. Okay. So that it's not even what I thought it would say, because I think of it as for runners and athletes to keep hydrated. I guess anybody to keep hydrated, but it's also telling me that I can come out of my comfort zone and be more extroverted, as though I need that, right, guys? But that's me on vitamin water. Oh, and it says new, by the way, very typical in marketing. If you have something that says new, believe it or not, that can help sales. People grab it. It's new. It's improved. Yeah, so I was gonna hand the blue water to you instead of the mic. Siri, talk about your favorite brand or Liquid Death or whatever in terms of what I was just talking about.
Yeah, of course. So this was actually my first time trying Liquid Death. I must say I do enjoy it. It is water at the end of the day. When I first learned about it, I thought it was like a beer or something like that. So I actually can't speak about the brand too much. I know there's like different flavors of water and whatnot, but I actually wanted to talk about Stanley cups just because
There you go.
Stanley is a brand that has been, they were founded, I think, 100 and something years ago, but their revenue now is like close to $1 billion a year. And I think the big, like, their boom moment was in between like 2019 and now, where the revenue was around like $70 million, and then it jumped all the way up to around $750 million. So I think they ended up coming out with hundreds of different colors of water bottles, and I don't even think it's the product. I mean, sure, it keeps your water cold for a really long time, and but there's people that have probably collections of 50 plus water bottles. Obviously you don't need that much. So I think that they were really, really successful in their brand marketing in a way that it's not just a product that you're buying into the culture of these, like, younger people that keep collections of them. Most of them don't even use them. Most of them use maybe one, and then they spend even more money buying like little gadgets that go with the Stanley Cups, like a Stanley Cup holder, and then there's like a snack thing that you can put on top of the Stanley Cup, and like all these things. But it's like a cultural momentum that you're buying into, and I think that's super interesting, because at the end of the day, it's just a water bottle. It keeps sure, it's a good one, but they ended up making so much money, because when you buy one, you're buying into just a culture, and all these girls that have these like 10 water bottles for no reason.
It's just a water bottle, but look at what marketing and advertising and sales and having a big behemoth company like Stanley behind you can do with just a water bottle. I joke, but it's a serious, true story about the marketing and sales of water, period. You guys have grown up with it like it's a normal thing, but someone like my mother, who's 94 years old, would refuse to pay for bottled water. So, because they never had that when they were younger. The fact that you pay for water, why would you pay for it? Tap water, it's free. But somebody came up with the idea to market and sell water bottled, and now you're talking about water bottles to put the water in. I just, as I was saying that, do you put tap water in those, or do you get?
I guess most people, you can put whatever.
Yeah,
There's some people
it's true.
that
Doesn't have to be water in there. Yeah. But anyways, that was good. We got vitamin water, and then we mentioned Liquid Death, and it went to Stanley water bottles. Now Zena's going to have her turn.
Yeah, so I mean, I was actually just kind of thinking about like marketing in general, and how in every single country you go to, marketing is completely different. I mean, when you go here in Boston, you have like the, what are they called? They're the billboards. You have big billboards here. I used to live in Spain, and you have nothing there. I mean, you have near the bus stops, you have some posters, and it's mainly like Zara and like some other shops. So I guess I could talk a little bit on Zara and actually how their marketing is, because they actually, strangely, don't really have much marketing. Sorry. They don't really have a lot of marketing. Zara is kind of like a weird company where their marketing is more word of mouth, which I think within marketing, as many of you guys know, there's a bunch of different types of marketing. And they chose to do that, and they also choose specific locations based on the demographic that they want. So whenever you go somewhere, mainly Zara's will be a big retail store in a corner, or where a lot of people can see it, because that's what their marketing strategy is. So I just wanted to touch on Zara because it's kind of a different marketing perspective.
What you just said is one of the 4 Ps, place. So they're like a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks or 7-Eleven or CVS. Location means an awful lot to them, and that's very smart of them.
Yeah. Do you have one to say?
Sure. I know I discussed this very simple product with Professor Carter early in the semester. Very simple candy brand, Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
So now everyone knows Reese's as like the very popular company where you buy their peanut butter cups, and they're incredibly delicious. I remember 43 years ago, around like the early 80s, they were kind of a failing brand. They created the Reese's Pieces, which was not really popular. It was kind of a mediocre substitute to M&Ms. And a very simple tactic they used to help drive revenue was placing their product, the Reese's Pieces, in the movie E.T., directed by Steven Spielberg in 1982. That movie was an incredible blockbuster hit. So, I mean, just simply taking the product Reese's Pieces, giving it to the lead young actor in the movie, Henry Thomas, this little kid who's going to the woods, throwing pieces of candy on the ground to try to like get the attention of this fictitious alien in the movie. I mean, and now they've completely saved their brand for the past over 4 decades. So I mean, just utilizing product placement just like that, using television, major motion pictures. I know we spent an entire unit on television movies, so just simple placement like that can totally turn a business around.
Outstanding, Michael. Zena has a question, something else to say. Go ahead, Zena, please.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of touch on that, even bringing it back to the finance club. I always try to have like our logo per se. So every single post that you pretty much see, it's the logo. Because a lot of people, they get used to brands, they get used to seeing logos. I mean, a lot of the times when you go to a grocery store, you have similar products, but one's based off of like, let's think of Stop and Shop. So like Stop and Shop, they have their own brand of things, and then they have like, I think it's like Honey Nut Cheerios, and it'll be like completely same thing, but a different box, and it's not that brand name. So it's very important to like get your brand name and get that logo kind of set in people's minds. I mean, we've had a pretty good outcome. I mean, the finance club at first last year, we probably averaged around 20-30 students. Now we average 45-50 students per meeting. Our first few meetings, we had the room completely filled. We thought we were gonna have to get a new room that was bigger. But it's really important that you think of logos and you think of branding and kind of see all these brands, how much they've grown and what they do to make that grow. That's Michael.
I have a question for Syria, since I know you are part of Suffolk as a tour guide and work in the Welcome Center. I know you spoke very highly of Suffolk's ability to help students navigate their young careers, maybe if they want to graduate early to save time and money. How have you personally worked as a tour guide and in the Welcome Center help build the personal brand of like Suffolk alone? How have you like given back to like the Suffolk community by being an active member every day?
Thank you, Michael. That was a very sweet question. Well, most people think of tour guides as like salespersons, basically. It's like an entry-level sales position. And I always try to be as genuine as possible when I'm giving a tour. And it really, like, I love when at the end people start clapping, because obviously, like, it's not just an ego boost. It's just like, it makes me happy that people were they were able to see how much I truly enjoy being as like a student here at Suffolk. And so one of my strategies is to be as honest as possible, but then also to advertise all the, like, anything I could possibly remember about how Suffolk brings students together, especially like being, again, as I mentioned before, like a school in downtown Boston. You have to explain how people get together, just because, you know, there's off-campus commitments and stuff like that, but how does Suffolk bring one big community together? And I think they're really good at that, number one, by having hundreds of clubs. And one thing that I wanted to ask you guys before, the finance club, obviously your target audience is students who are majoring or minoring in finance, but I think I've also seen students who have nothing to do with the major per se, but they're still learning so much. So what can the average student get out of your class, and how does that look like?
Very good question. I think students can make it as much or as little as they want. I know we have sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays, anyone is more than welcome to come, just being a general member. I know everyone comes on that day, but I mean, I know so many people in the industry or emerging into it, like young students who are not even finance majors. I'm a management major, as mentioned before, so anyone can come into the club and be part of it and kind of take part in this very fastly growing club. I know some of the most well-spoken for portfolio managers, bankers, even brokers in the business. Some went to school for psychology, some went for botany. I know one one of my mentors, they went and they got their degree in astrophysics, mathematics, and then they finally got their PhD in economics. So, I mean, you can spend it as many ways as you want for finance. I think that's what's so special about the club, and it's really just an opportunity to meet people, to network. As Professor Cargill mentions every single day, networking yourself, meeting people, making connections.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say, but the only thing I could actually add is within the finance club, you get so much out of it. You're not only in a club that manages real assets, real money, you're actually meeting alumni within your reach. So a lot of the alumni, as Michael said, they aren't in finance majors. I mean, even today we had a guest speaker, and he was saying if you're a psychology major, it's great, or even a psychology minor, it's great. And within that, finance, it's everyone's life. I mean, you go somewhere, you pay, that's finance, technically. I mean, everything is finance, it comes down to it. It's great to have some knowledge in it, and in every single field you can use it. So that's why the finance club was great to even join, or even if you just want to come for a meeting, everyone's more than welcome to. Yeah.
It's a great way to advertise.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, guys. It was such an awesome conversation, and we could go on and on, as I said earlier, but we actually can't. We should end the class in a few minutes. We have all your classmates still watching us. Thank you for being here, everybody, and I want to thank you guys for participating. We want to end on time. It's almost 4:45, and I think we've gone, I can tell you exactly how long we've gone, for 36 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. That's awesome. That's a great length for a podcast. Again, we're multitasking here, at least I am, trying to teach podcasting, content marketing, social media, but also you guys are so well spoken. You represent the Finance and Marketing Club, Finance and Investing Club, so splendidly, so wonderfully.
Thank you.
And no wonder the room is full, and you have more and more followers because of your leadership as a CMO, and yours as a VP, Michael. Zena, you're doing amazing things, and that's the importance of marketing. It attracts people, it engages people, and they end up doing business with you and becoming loyal to you, your brand, your club in this case. And Syria, you talked about so many different things. I'm glad you brought up the Stanley water bottle example as branding and marketing, and a product that has taken off big time. And it's also a line extension or brand extension in terms of all those other different related products that they have that goes along with the water bottles. And then I went back even further with just selling water. I mean, the marketing is so, almost like you were just saying, Zena, finance is in everything, marketing is in everything.
It's also free.
It's an art and a science too.
What's that?
It's an art and a science.
Yeah, it's an art and a science. So the left brain is the art, more creative, and science, or vice versa, I'm sorry. Right brain is the art, more creative. Left brain is more analytical, more the science part. Hey, it's Bob Cargill's marketing show, but you know what? It's not. It's Michael's and Zena's and Syria's marketing show. You have really been amazing rock stars, three of you, okay? Thank you for your time, for your knowledge, for your enthusiasm. Thanks to the audience in the classroom. Thank you, guys. There's a few of you still here. We've gone over time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, whoever's listening on my podcast and whoever's watching on YouTube and wherever else. Speaking on behalf of Zena Fitzgerald, Michael Klier, and Syria Ricciu, this is Bob Cargill saying, see you again sometime soon.